So let's jump right into it. You are currently on the advisor board for the Capital One Cup. How did you become involved?
I'm an enthusiastic collegiate sports fan, number one, but also having played collegiate sports and having been on teams that have gone to the championship weekend, I recognize the importance of the collegiate experience, and not only is that on the field, but also off the field. And I think because of that, Capital One came to me and thought that I would be a good ambassador for their advisory board. And then I think the significance of this trophy and this award is that it specifically focuses on men's sports with 19 sports and women's sports with 20 sports separately, giving each credibility and validity, and through cumulative point totals for championships won and top 10 finishes earned, allows sports like cross country or water polo, volleyball, soccer, field hockey, football, basketball, baseball, and the like to earn points that go towards that championship. And I feel that since these sports rarely get the type of attention some of the bigger sports do, it gives us a chance to highlight them and spotlight what great things are happening on the field and in the classrooms across this country. And that's because they not only get this wonderful trophy, but because there's a combined $400,000 awarded to the universities. And that just gives opportunity to so many more athletes out there to participate. And I'm partial to women's sports, so this is a great award for these student athletes to be striving for.
And I see that you're giving back with the Capital One Cup, Bossy, and your involvement with multiple youth programs and much more. Why is giving back so important to you?
Well, I think the number one reason it's important to me is that somebody gave me a chance. And my parents specifically signed me up for sports. We didn't have any idea where this was going and what it would mean, but ultimately sports allowed me to grow and develop as a person, learn life lessons, to make mistakes and get up and try again, and to get an education. And ultimately, the lessons I use as a parent in my community, with my nonprofits, coaching both men's and women's soccer, it allows me to give back and to support a young person in their quest or their dream to challenge themselves both on the intellectual academic side and on the physical, mental, and psychological sports side. So this is, for me, a thrill and an honor, and I'm very proud to be a part of the Capital One Cup for these last 5 years. And I love to celebrate when others do great things too. So it kind of fits all the buckets for me.
With all your involvement, you work with many top athletes, including one of your old teammates, Julie Foudy. Do you have any notable memories regarding working with Foudy or anyone else?
I have wonderful memories of playing with Julie Foudy and working with her on off-the-field projects with nonprofit and girls. And, I think some of the greatest moments we've shared have actually happened off the field in the terms of our ability to contribute to off-the-field organizations or moments in girls' lives that, just a little bit of attention given can change a young girl's life. So we're very fortunate. We have a great time while we're working together. That was both on the field and off the field. And it's a pleasure to, be able for us to collaborate and be what I hope are difference makers for good.
Your career has been a catalyst for women's sports and especially soccer. From when you began in the 90s to the present, women's soccer has grown incredibly in its competition, but also in equal collegiate opportunities. How has the women's game changed since you were in college?
Well, I think, number one, you can just look at the sheer numbers. There's more women participating at the collegiate level now than before. I think there was 75 Division I programs when I was playing, and now there's somewhere over 325, I believe, participating at the Division I level. And so the opportunities for young women to not only play the sport that they love, but also to earn a diploma and get an education at the same time is just incredible to me. So, that's number one. I also think, with that population playing, the game's improved. I think that's the natural evolution, and I think it's wonderful that our game is going in a positive direction.
Female athletics has been an incredible opportunity for you. What advice do you have for young girls hoping to play collegiate or professional soccer?
Well, I first have to let them know that it's a long journey, but one that's well worth it if it's what you find your passion and your love to be. I think there's a lot of things I could tell young players about soccer, the technical parts, the tactical part. But really, ultimately, the outcomes depend on the commitment of the individual and their willingness to make the details count and matter, their willingness to learn lessons, to make mistakes and grow from them, and to keep it in perspective. It's a lifelong journey, and you can't get too wrapped up in the things that don't matter and the things you can't control. So control what you can control, have fun, enjoy it, but know that the outcome is yours if you want it.
Florida State won its first national championship Sunday with a 1-0 win over Virginia in the Women's College Cup final. Any comments on the outcome?
Absolutely well-deserved. I watched the game. I thought both teams were quality. Probably if you ask them, it wasn't either one of their best games, but the goal that was scored was outstanding. Jamia Fields had a great strike in the 82nd minute, and I think ultimately the best team won. It was a great showcase for women's soccer. It raised the bar for all of us who are involved at the collegiate level and want to be champions. They're a wonderful example. I think that they should be proud of their effort. I know that Coach Mark Krikorian feels very proud about how his team has played not only this year but over the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. And they've really given us all a chance to step back and say, we can play some good, attacking, positive, enjoyable soccer, and it can be a way to a championship. So that's a positive. And you have to give kudos to Virginia as well. They had a wonderful season and gave Florida State a run for their money.
What does the win mean for Florida in terms of Capital One scholarship money? How much money will they be awarded, and how might that help the program?
Well, their contribution is 60 points to their team's overall cumulative points, which will be tallied until the spring, could earn their university not only the beautiful trophy to put in the trophy case, but like I said, there's a combined $400,000 out there that can significantly enhance the college experience for potentially a student athlete who would not have a chance to go to college if it weren't for scholarships. So, the way it can change lives is significant.
The Seminoles shut down Morgan Bryan, Virginia's most dominant scorer. What was their strategy?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think sometimes it's not just about breaking down that one player, but I thought Florida State clogged the midfield. They dominated that area, and they didn't give her a lot of opportunity to be on the ball. And ultimately, the team in this game, the team that possessed the ball better won the game, and that was Florida State.
The U.S. women are in the group of death, the only group with 3 top 10 teams for the Women's World Cup. How do you think the U.S. is going to need to pursue success?
Well, first of all, talking about the group of death, I think that's it adds drama to the World Cup, and it gives something to talk about. But I look over the whole entirety of all the draw and the 6 groups, and I think that there's a lot of good teams out there. I think for the U.S. to be successful in this group, they have to take the games one at a time. Don't look beyond the group games or even past the first 90 minutes. Earning points in every game is critical. Finding a way to not only do what they do well, which is the U.S. has always been good at, in the history of women's soccer in the U.S., have always been good at having a competitive, winning willingness to go out and do anything to win mentality. Likewise, we've always been talented in the attacking third of the field, whether that's from Mia Hamm to April Heinrich, Michelle Akers, Karen Gabera, Abby Wambach, Alex Morgan, Sydney Leroux, the list goes on and on. We've been consistent in having good attacking players. I think to win a World Cup, you have to have a good balance of the ability to defend, the ability to transition immediately to positive possession and attacking from the back line. You need them to participate and help control and assert themselves on the game with tempo and rhythm. And so ultimately, I think the latter that I spoke of, the defending and the transition to attack, will be the key for this U.S. team's success in this tournament, because most teams have good attack, but if you can dominate with positive possession in the attacking half of the field and have your defenders be a part of that attack, the better off for the U.S. And that will be up to Coach Jill Ellis to find the right combination of those 11 players that can do that in each of the games that they have against Sweden, Australia, and Nigeria. And those lineups may be different depending on who they're playing, and that's for hers to manage.
You had a featured role in the Pretty Tough movie. What do you think being pretty tough means?
I think just like I said to you about the U.S. team, I think it's having a balance. It's about having style and grace and grit and brawn and confidence and courage. And it's about the willingness to allow all of those to come through and to be present and apparent for all to see.
So thank you very much, Brandi, and thank you also to all the people at Capital One.
Well, you're welcome, and if you don't mind, I know how people love using social media and following their teams and being able to share their opinion about things. Mm-hmm. For the fans out there, they can go to CapitalOneCup.com, and for the social media at Capital One and Facebook.com/Capital One, they can follow their teams, they can talk about their teams, they can boast about their teams, they can trash talk other teams, they can feel like they're a part of the process. They can follow along this journey that is the Capital One Cup and ultimately see where their team ends up at the end of the year. So that's a wonderful outlet for the fans to be involved in this great award.